Buddh, a Ferrari lineup, no restrictions, flat out driving. Definitely the best way to attain nirvana for an auto junkie like me, especially since it was my first time driving on this magnificent F1 circuit.
Well, I've had a terrible viral all week, and you're going to hear a lot of it when I speak, but just one phone call to say that we were going to drive the prancing horses around the Buddh circuit was enough to get me up and about on my feet and feeling well enough. Well, I'm here, I'm at Buddh circuit, we've got the 458, we've got the FF, we've got the California, and I think it's going to be a hell of a fun day, and by the end of it, I'll be absolutely well.
With a gleaming lineup like that and the sound of those 458 engines firing up, it was enough to blast any signs of my miserable viral into oblivion. And I was itching to get behind the wheel. Memories of the FF drive in Italy came rushing back, only to make my adrenaline levels pump even more. The pit lane rules were applicable to us and it was slowly out. But once past that line, when you have your hands behind the wheel of a 458 and the exhaust whistling its own tune to your ears, slow is a word that you completely forget. As soon as I shot out of the pit lane past corner 1, and my foot seemed to have a life of its own, stomping down on the pedal. Tug at the paddle shift, moving up the gears. Somewhere in the background, I could hear the instructor saying, slow down, it's only your first lap, get used to the track. But my hands and feet weren't listening, they were doing a jig of their own. Flat out through the range of revs, the 458 accelerated seamlessly. Just as quick, slowed down into the corners, blipping on the throttle, and then up the revs again. Whoa! Down the straights, I shocked myself with the numbers on the display in front of me. 263 and still going, but the corner was reeling in so fast, I had to take my eyes off the dial and concentrate on getting around without giving the instructor a seizure, which he was threatening to have. No words I say to you will be able to justify this experience. It will all fall short. The 458 has to be felt from behind the wheel to understand why it's considered the best sports car in the world. The first 2 laps were over all too soon, and I was yearning for more. Luckily, there was more. And this time I promised to be sensible, listen to the instructor, and of course slow down a bit and talk to you guys as well.
Driving the 458 around the Buddh circuit is just stuff that dreams are made of, but I'm actually living this dream. Can't believe that it's happening today. It's absolutely a fantastic feeling, and I'm having loads of fun.
The Buddh circuit, with its wide runoff areas and smooth surface, tempts you to push to the limits and chuck the car around without fear. The problem is you don't really get a sense of the speeds because of the whip, which my instructor was begging me to keep in check.
This is what's adding to the pleasure.
Not only the track and the sound, but the car itself was egging me on. Now, some older Ferraris will bite you back if you push too hard. Not the 458, it lets you drive on your limit, and that's the whole fun of this car. The steering takes a little getting used to because it's so much more direct than any cars we drive. But once you get used to it, it's an absolute thrill.
Stop when you get pushed back into your seat. The directness of the steering pointing exactly where you want it to go.
Power and grip are of course an essential part of that path to nirvana. But just that sound of the V8 screaming down the back straight, going up the gears or flipping on the throttle is... And I'm struggling for words that are acceptable on TV, but I'll settle for just ecstasy.
And despite all the power and everything, it's just such an easy car to drive. Just begs you to push it harder and harder. And you can have an entire day of driving it and it won't be enough.
This was a car that had got under my skin, into my heart, and one that I knew I would not get out of my head for a long, long while. Not to mention the massive, massive smile that it left plastered across my face.
So days like this are the perks of my job, driving a 458, that too on a circuit, flat out. Can't have any more fun than that. This car is just so direct, lightning quick shifts, fast as hell, but it's still very, very drivable, and you can push it around the track, push it to your limit and its limits, and have great loads of fun, as you see that I've been doing. And the sound, that is just pure nirvana. Well, I've had loads of fun on the track, and now I'm off to the skid pad to do some more. So now we're at the skid pad, where, as you can see, they're wetting the track so that we can have some fun. It's a small little track, don't know how quick we're going to go, but this time around we get the California to test it out. Now this is a much softer, more gentle, more everyday kind of Ferrari. So in comfort mode, basically, it's absolutely dead safe. Not much that will happen even on a track like this. In sports mode, it'll get to be a little bit more fun. Of course, I'd love to drive with the traction control off, but I don't think they're going to allow us to do this here.
It was a very small course, and I would have rather have got a couple of more laps around the Buddh circuit in the California, but still, we did get to test the difference. I got to feel how happy the California was to let its tail step out in sports mode, the one I liked best, and how planted it felt in comfort. We were not doing any great speeds, but yes, you could feel the difference still. I think my glum face got the instructor feeling a little sorry for me, and we got a small extra excursion in the FF.
For once, I'm pulling hierarchy on Hormuz. Since he did that in the 599 with me, we finally managed to put him at the back of the car, and we're in the FF.
The FF is probably the most practical Ferrari for India, being a four-seater, four-wheel drive. But at 3.42 crores, I wonder whether it's really practical to use the word practical. If the Ferrari drive was short, the California was shorter. The high point was revving it through the tunnel to hear the sound. The drive was way too short for me to even form an opinion. But yes, the California is the poor man's Ferrari, if we can call it that. Smallest, cheapest, and probably the easiest to drive.
Well, I finished horsing around quite literally today. That's what I've been doing, having a real blast out here at the Buddh circuit with the Ferraris. What else can you do but have fun when you have cars like this? But getting down to more serious business, what I've really discovered after driving all these three cars is that if you're a hardcore enthusiast, the 458 is really the one you're going to enjoy. If you want an everyday Ferrari, something that's easy, that's comfortable, well then the California is it. And of course, if you have that wife at home who insists you've got to have back seats, not just the two-door sports car, well then the Ferrari FF is what you want. But hope you've enjoyed watching. I've really had a blast doing this.